now. Item number 6 on the agenda is the Dornoch Business Improvement District. And we have a couple of recommendations there, and Phil's going to talk to us.
Yes.
This report. Thank you.
Okay. Right, thank you, members. I will just spend a bit of time on this, because I think Business Improvement District is new to some members. The report provides a summary of the Dornoch Business Improvement District proposal and also explains our involvement as the council. Business Improvement Districts are business-led and are created following a ballot of local businesses, and they cover a defined geographic area. The idea is that they should provide projects and services additional to those provided by the council and other statutory providers. So it's not a replacement, it's additional services. And it's funded by a levy on non-domestic ratepayers. So each business is required to pay an additional amount of money which goes towards the bid once it's established. In Highland, there are 3 bids already existing, one in Nairn, one in Inverness, and one at Loch Ness side. That's a tourism, T-bid it's called, that one. The role of the local council then is around the right of veto. That's for us to ensure that there's fairness to businesses and no conflict with our policies. That veto is delegated to E&I committee. The council is responsible for the ballot of local businesses, and for that to be successful, there's a requirement of a minimum of 25% turnout of businesses, both by rateable value and by number of businesses, and there has to be a majority in that vote on those 2 measures. So that protects small businesses from individual large businesses dominating the vote. Normally, the local authority would also have the right to vote as a non-domestic ratepayer itself. However, in the case of Dornoch, the steering group has decided that they will exclude council premises and other premises, health, for example, from the Business Improvement District. So we will not be voting. Okay, just a little bit of background on Dornoch Business Improvement District. It was established in 2022 with a steering group, and funding from Scottish Government, Highland Council, Dornoch Common Good and HIE enabled the employment of a bid coordinator. The coordinator and the steering group have been doing extensive consultation in Dornoch and have come up with the business plan and proposal, and that's appended to the report, so you can peruse that at your pleasure. There are additional appendices if you wish them, but I didn't attach those because they tend to be details and data rather than a description of what will happen, which you will find in those 2 documents that are attached. The bid will cover the IV25 postcode, so for those of you not familiar with that, broadly the Dornoch area, Dornoch Community Council area. The bid aims and objectives are outlined in the report. Moving on to the ballot then, the ballot is proposed for 16th of November, and if it's successful, the bid will be established on the 1st of March 2024, and it will run for 5 years. And the idea is that it will renew by a ballot if that's if they want to continue, and that's a fairly standard process. For instance, Nairn is currently undergoing its renewal ballot, which is the kind of thing that happens periodically. The levy will raise approximately £73,000, it's a considerable amount of money, and the bid will seek to match that with external funding. So if you consider that as, even if they were able to double that money, that could be potentially £150,000 available per year for projects in Dornoch to improve the environment and the other objectives that they have there, promoting the town, tourism and the like. So it's not an inconsiderable project. And members will note the support provided to the Dornoch bid by the Sutherland ward manager, the tourism and investment team leader, the elections team, and the revenues and customer services team. There's actually quite a few people have been involved in supporting it on behalf of the council, and it's worth noting that. Furthermore, Councillor McGilvery and myself have attended the steering groups in an advisory capacity. So the decision-making process, there will be a report to E&I on the 17th of August regarding the veto, and then in terms of this committee, the role of this committee is to recommend the bid to full council, and that will meet on the 14th of September, subject to that E&I veto. And normally the E&I veto bit would come first and then local committee, but it's just the way the committee cycle is this time. It's a little bit back to front. And the recommendations are there in the report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Phil. Members, any questions on the bid process? Councillor Evan.
Just a ballpark figure, is it the bit of the business movement review, is that one?
Yeah, so there is a banding, and I think the details are in the appendices. But basically, there are 12 bands, and if you, depending on your non-domestic rate payment, then the levy is according to that.
Just a bit of context here. Further to what Phil has already said, and I thank Paul for the tremendous effort he's put in and enabling this to move forward. It's arisen from the original 2013 HI Dornoch Master Plan, which was taken forward by the Dornoch Area Interest Company, very much on a volunteer basis, but raising money from a voluntary levy of businesses. And anything that's been achieved has been achieved because of the work of that committee and structure. And after 10 years, it's perhaps time to very clearly how things move forward and take the step into the next phase. And the bid represents that next phase, where there will be sufficient funding raised, hopefully, to fund a professional officer to carry things forward. So I hope members can support the move.
That's fine. Councillor McGilvray. One question I have, or a couple of questions. Assuming that there is obviously going to be a vote, and business will vote on whether they want to be part of it or not. Those that don't want to become part of it, how does that play out?
So the vote is binding. So if the majority of businesses by number and rateable value vote in favour, then all businesses are compelled to pay the levy, and it's paid through the non-domestic rate system, so the usual non-payment follow-up would apply. And that's for the council to collect that. And the council collects that, and the council would use its usual enforcement procedures to get that money. So any default would be pursued by the council. Exactly. Sorry. And also note that 25% of the businesses have to have a return of 25%. A number of businesses voting, and of that 25%, you've got to have at least 50% in favour. So, in essence, we could have 12.5% of businesses voting in favour to carry this forward in the face of the other 87.5% who don't want it. So that is a concern for me as well. But the gist of what I'm seeing and what I'm getting anecdotally is that the majority of businesses are in favour of it. So I'm not actually looking for answers. I'm just voicing this as a concern. If you allow me to comment, as part of the preparation work and for the bid proposal to be accepted by the Scottish Government, they have to demonstrate a level of support, and they've been able to do that. I don't have the numbers to hand, but it's well into the 30s. I think it was about 30 or 40% of businesses had indicated that they would be supportive. So that, you know, they've kind of they've already demonstrated there was a level of support to make to enable the vote to go ahead. Okay, any other questions, members? Anybody online? No. Okay. Right, members, we are asked to note the proposal of the establishment of a business improvement district in Dornoch and agree to recommend to full council that it supports the Dornoch bid proposal when this is considered at the meeting of the Highland Council on the 14th September 23. This is subject to Economy and Infrastructure Committee confirming that Highland Council has no cause to exercise its right of veto in respect for the establishment of the bid. Are we happy with these recommendations? Okay, that's agreed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Phil. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, members. The item 7 on the agenda is the Dornoch Common Good quarterly quarter 1 monitoring report. Again, that's Phil. Okay, thank you. Thank you, members. This is a standard report, outlines the common good at the end of quarter 1 and the figures are in the appendices. Income from rents is being collected as it becomes due, expected to be on target for the current year. Expenditure, there's a table which I hope members find clear, which explains the expected outturn for the year, which will be an overspend. That results from the decision in May to grant £50,000 to Donald Heritage Schio, and the Datchet Project Curlew Phase 2, which was approved last year, and the funding from the Dornoch bit. So there's an extra £50,000 that wasn't in the original budget. So there is remaining in the community pot for community projects 6,423. Although following approval yesterday, that'll be slightly less. But I'll make sure that the community council is fully aware of that. So that, moving ahead, you can come in within that by the year end. Miscellaneous costs also is showing an overspend. This was caused by essential repairs to the beach car park at Dornoch, £13,163. There's an overspend there of £13,163 expected at the year end. And that's the only topic of, I think. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Phil. Okay, members, any questions regarding the quarterly report?
That's a very fair report. The Common Good Fund's been working very hard the last couple of years. Two major projects have been funded with assistance, with thanks from the Coastal Communities Fund as well. And it's perhaps will be a quieter time in terms of spend coming up. These major projects get to fruition. The time takes off and where we go next, and that could be a responsibility of the Business Improvement District structure when that comes around.
Thank you for that, Councillor McGilvery. I think, from my perspective, I think that there's been a lot of good work being done with the Common Good Fund, and as Councillor McGilvery said, some major projects gone ahead as a result of support that's been given, we've been able to give through that, and it's good to see the Dornoch is thriving as a result. So it's, I think I'm happy to agree with recommendations on that. So the committee is invited to note the position of Dornoch Common Good Fund at the end of the first quarter 2024, promulgate £13,163 of expenditure on essential repairs to Dornoch Beach car parks, and to note the update on current Dornoch Common Good issues. Are we happy we've done that? Thank you, members. Okay, item 8 is the award discretionary awards. You've all got that in front of you. I don't think we need to go through that. Are we all happy to note the awards that have been made, both in Ward 1 and Ward 4?
Great.
Okay. Thank you for that. And item 9 is the minutes of the previous meeting. I'm happy to propose that. I think that there's an accurate reflection. Are we? Any comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, remember, before we close the meeting, I have one issue I'd like to raise. If I can get the right place here. Yeah, I want to draw the committee's attention to the information that we received recently regarding the PSA hours in Sutherland. From the information that we received, it would appear that there has been little change in the number of hours. However, that is contrary to information I've received from concerned parents. For example, the parents at Robert Primary tell me that the number of PSA hours allocated to the school have dropped significantly in spite of an increase in demand. My concern is that the algorithm that is used to determine the hours required in any particular school is flawed, and as such is not addressing the level of need that exists. Given that we are talking about our most vulnerable children, I'd like to propose an emergency motion that this committee calls upon the council to review the PSA hours allocation to all schools, and in particular to remote and rural schools, and that consultations are carried out with staff and parents to determine the actual level of PSA hours required to meet the requirements of all children who need that additional support. And I would look for a seconder. That's Councillor Beard or Councillor McGilvery. That's fine. So that's the motion I want to put forward. I'll put this in the chat for everybody to see, and I'll welcome any comments and see if anybody's not minded similarly. Also, members, this will have to go to start item to the full council, because it's not in our remit to mention this or to carry this forward. I'm just fine from it. Are you with me? Okay, that should all be in your chat. Now, having read that out, does anybody wish to make any comments or is there any concerns? Can I ask if we either all in agreement or is there any dissent to what's been proposed here?
I'm happy to agree to that, Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Yes.
There's the figures we saw yesterday were quite block figures. For example, Gloucester High School with its 6 primary schools, feeder primary schools, its ASG. The detail there was missing, and I think so much seems to be left to the head teacher that I think it's an extra burden on the head teacher to actually carry it forward. So I agree with your motion.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody otherwise minded? No, I'm sort of shaking heads. That's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, members. I say that will go as a third item to the next full council, and that brings the meeting to a close. Thank you very much for your attendance.